Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike and my co-host.
Shenanigans,
Yes.
also known as JT. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
I am doing decent. Life is too busy, too much going on. You know,
I feel
it's
like
hard to
I
keep up.
eliminated some things from my schedule and you've added them.
Yes. Well, it's that time of year where there's holidays, like finishing up your time off and lots of things
Yeah,
going on.
that's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
as we are recording this, it's November 7th, which means it's election day in the United States, and I look forward to losing faith in humanity a little bit more one more time this year.
Oh, wah, wah.
There's a lot on the table, man. If Virginia does the wrong thing, abortion's going to be made illegal and a lot of bad things are going to happen.
I'm actually a little surprised that it's still not illegal.
Well, fair. But on a good note, a Democrat won Kentucky.
Wow.
And he
Damn.
campaigned on legalizing, making sure abortion rights were there. And then Ohio voted on issue one, and they basically codified abortion rights in that state. So
Nice.
nothing can happen. So take that, people who think it's a big deal.
People that suck.
It's a theocracy, my dude.
It is, and it's just becoming more and more apparent.
Yep. The theocracy running around on Halloween as a democracy.
Yes. And once in a while as an idiocracy.
Idiot, right? There's that umbrella of idiocracy right on top of it.
Oi. Well, luckily, we're going to take our minds away from all of that bullshit to other bullshit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think honestly this is a great topic for the next two episodes because the genre of music, the blues, was
Yes.
all about protest and there's just a lot there, and I think that this is a really good time to talk about it. So I'm excited
Yes.
to hear what you've got to lay up.
Yeah. And I'm not going to get too much into the history of blues. It sounds like you will in the next episode.
Yeah.
But the title of my case is Music, Violence, Fame, and No Fortune. This is a story of Leadbelly.
Leadbelly.
And the beer that I paired with this is from Temporal Artisan Ales. This is the Isolated Horizon, because this guy ended up isolated in a cell a couple too many times.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a blend of imperial stouts from the first two void batches, aged in Blaston's bourbon barrels for 2 years. Both batches were brewed with something double mash and boiled for 6 hours.
Mm.
So this is release number 26 from the barrels that he made. There's only 500 bottles made, and it's 13.78% alcohol. And it looks beautiful. It is
That's
so
gorgeous.
dark that it looks like motor oil.
Perfect. I
Mildly
like it.
carbonated motor oil. And it smells like molassesy sweet, with bourbon, like barley and roasted malts and sweetness. Oh, it just smells like after dinner treat dessert. It actually doesn't taste quite as sweet as it smells, but it's lots of caramel and treacle and like brown sugar and roasted malts, and it's got like a thick body. It's got definitely bourbon, very little bitterness, but a tiny bit to kind of balance out the sweetness. Oh, and the more I sip it, the more that bourbon builds. Num,
Ooh.
num, num.
Num.
Actually, I think
In
there's
other
a
words,
hint of black licorice too, tiny bit.
by the end of the bottle, he will be numb.
Luckily for me, it's only what does it say here? It is 330 milliliters, so about 12 ounces, and It costs $17. So
Ugh.
this is a special thing to get.
That's totally a beer you chug.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
He
Glug, glug,
said.
glug, glug. All right. Well, let's get into it. Huddy William Ledbetter was born on January 20th, 1888, or was it January 23rd, 1889, or even January 23rd, 1888?
The world will
Basically,
never know.
there's no birth certificate for Huddy, but there were multiple dates given for his birth on a census and his World War II draft card. So we don't know. What we do know is that he was born in Mooringsport, Louisiana, to parents Wesley Ledbetter and Sally Brown. Although some sources say her last name was, I think it's Pugo, Pugho, and
Mhm.
would say that she was half indigenous.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Wesley was a tenant farmer after slavery was abolished in 1865, and it sounds like they farmed cotton.
Mhm.
Big surprise down in the South.
As one is wont to do
Yes.
in the late
When Huddy,
1800s.
yeah, right. When Huddy turned 5, his family would move to Harrison County, Texas. Here he would learn to play accordion. He would have two music instructors in his Uncle Bob and Taro Ledbetter.
And then he grew out his hair, curled it, and became Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes, they don't sound quite Jewish enough, those names.
Not at all. Uncle Bob.
Yeah,
Never
exactly,
better
right?
than good old Uncle Bob.
But yeah, they seemed like they were probably pretty good music teachers for this guy, because
Yeah.
he would go on to learn to play the mandolin, the guitar, the harmonica. I looked up the name. This is actually one of its names, the Jew's harp,
Yes. Yes,
piano,
it is.
and the organ. I wanted to make sure it wasn't like a racial slur, really.
Sure.
So
The Jew's harp is the no.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Yep.
little like metal thing. That's
Yep.
a lot of instruments to learn to play, though. And he was also a singer.
It's it's amazing. They spent so long trying to make sure that black people couldn't read.
Yep,
And yet,
exactly.
I mean, there are very few white people I know from that time period who were learning that many instruments. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yep.
So he would go to school until the age of either 12 or 13 when he would drop out to farm for his father, which was kind of typical. I mean, not even that long ago, really, in rural places. It
Right.
might still be a
Oh,
typical thing.
it's still, I mean, why else would you have sons?
Yeah. They might
Other
they
than
might last till 16 or something, but yeah.
believe me, in our northeast, still a thing. Most assuredly still
Hour
a thing.
couple hours south too, probably.
Really just where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded, Mike.
It sounds like he'd be given his first guitar at age 14 or 15, and
Mhm.
this would be the year he would begin to play music in public. Not
All
just for
right.
his like family and stuff, right?
That takes guts.
It does. The next year, he would leave his
Louisiana.
parents'
Whoa.
farm and head back to Louisiana to try his hand at being a musician. He's still like 15 or 16,
Yeah,
leaving his
that's,
family.
I mean, I guess that's pretty much on par with the age
Yeah.
at that point.
Imagine like, 15, 16-year-olds in the early 1900s, I guess, at this point, or late 1800s. Black kid moving from Texas to Louisiana on his own. Probably going to have some trouble.
Um, yeah, yeah. We're gonna go with yes.
So he would end up in Shreveport and spend 2 years playing music in the red light district.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Good place to live when 16 to 18.
it's hard. I didn't hear string bass in his repertoire.
Yeah, exactly. After that stint, he would make his way back to Texas, where he would travel around the state playing music. He would fall ill at some point, though, and head back to the family farm for a time.
Okay.
He would meet and marry Athea Henderson on July 20th, 1908, who could have been as young as 15 at the time. He was probably around 20. So today's standards, cringe, but
I mean,
different
remember,
times.
we're also talking about down south, so probably
Yeah.
still the same standards.
I
Uh,
mean, it's still cringe now,
oh,
but
it's
it still
very
happens.
cringe. It's super cringe.
Yep. In late 1910, they moved to Dallas, Texas. They would have two children together during their time married. The two would pick cotton in the summer, and Huddy would play music in the winter. So, do his passion when it's not as busy.
Yeah.
So while working in Dallas, Huddy would meet up with Blind Lemon Jefferson in 1912 and begin to play together on and off for 2 years. And at this time, Huddy would pick up the 12-string guitar.
Ooh, I love me a
Yeah.
good 12 string. Also, love all the names of blues artists.
Yeah. Right?
Truly. What was that? Lemon, what was it?
Blind Lemon Jefferson.
Blind Lemon Jefferson. A fantastic name.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Huddy, he had a temper, and life would
Oh.
start to change for him. He was well known to be a troublemaker and would carry a handgun all the time. His luck would run out in June of 1915 as he would be arrested on alleged assault charges.
Oh no.
His parents would sign over their farm to hire a lawyer, and the lawyer would get his charges dropped to just gun possession. So it sounds like he was only sentenced to 30 days on a chain gang, but he would end up breaking out before the end of the 30 days.
I'll tell you what though, that's a really shitty 30 days. I mean,
Yeah, but his
chain
parents
gang.
signed over their farm.
Yeah, that really
So bad.
that sucks.
So him and his wife would assume the names Mr. and Mrs. Walter Boyd, and they would move to Bowie County and become tenant farmers there. And it
Interesting.
was easier to do that in the early 1900s because there's no internet. Like you could move a town over and no one would know.
Really up until the 1970s or 80s.
Yeah.
Police never talked to each other. So,
Some still don't.
yep. Mm-hmm.
His time out of prison wasn't meant to last long, though, as he would begin his next stretch after the events that took place in December of 1917. Huddy would have an altercation with his cousin's husband, Will Stafford, over derogatory words about a woman. Huddy would shoot the man between the eyes before Will could pull his gun and also assault another man.
Oh my God. Well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, right? Like I said, this guy had a
What
temper.
what side of the argument was he on?
I think he was on the right side of the argument, it sounds like.
And the
That's
right
like
side of
he
the
got
gun.
pissed off about it, and yeah,
Good.
he just
Gore.
ended it in a very poor way.
Uh,
So he was sentenced to between 7 and 30 years in prison for this murder and assault, and was sent to Shaw State Prison in Huntsville, Texas. It would be during this stint in prison that he would be stabbed in the neck and receive a massive scar that he would cover with a scarf for the rest of his life. It was also during this time in prison that he would take on the nickname of Leadbelly. There's a ton of speculation to the origin of this name, from being able to take a punch, a gunshot in the belly, being able to work hard and fast in prison, or just a reworking of his last name. No one really knows today. I don't think it really matters.
we don't know when he was born. We don't know why he picked the name. We don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
In prison, he would be known for performing for the prison guards, and the prisoners, and even the governor on occasion. During his stint, he would write a song for the governor of Texas, Patrick Neff, and a year later, before Patrick left office, he released Leadbelly.
wow.
Yeah,
Note to
right?
self. Write song for
Governor.
ego-driven maniac.
Oh, this guy sounded like he was a big fan of his music. This would be months before his mandatory minimum sentence of 7 years was finished, too.
Wow.
Unfortunately for Leadbelly, his wife, Aletha, would leave him during the stay in prison. So she was gone, but he was out.
Freedom.
Once
Times
out of
two.
prison. Oh, yeah, exactly, right? Once out of prison, he would end up back in Louisiana and end up in Mooringsport again. He would start to play music at least part-time, but I'm sure he had to do more than that. I just couldn't figure it out.
Sure.
Of course, his temper would get the best of him again on February 28th, 1930. It's a little bit further. It would see Leadbelly heading back to prison. This time, just as violent, but only attempted murder.
Oh, well. Yeah.
He would stab a white man who was a Salvation Army officer who was bothering him because he was dancing at a concert.
I would have been the person getting stabbed for sure.
Oh, you wouldn't be like, stop dancing, you stop dancing.
Who, me?
Yeah.
No.
Because
Wait,
that
what?
white the Salvation Army guy was like, you gotta stop dancing at the
Oh,
concert.
yeah, no.
And
That wouldn't
Leadbelly's
be
like,
me.
fuck you, and stabbed him.
I'd be the dancer.
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, but I would be a stabby rather than the stabber. That's for sure.
So I mean, stabbing is absolutely wrong, but fuck off. He was only dancing.
At a
Also,
concert.
Jesus, this is Leadbelly. Don't fuck with this guy.
It's not like this is Pink Floyd. Like, I don't know who he was seeing, but it weren't them.
No, it was, I don't know what it would be. Probably blues or something.
I mean,
He also
I'm
did like
guessing,
folk
yeah.
music, so I don't know. So just let the man with a terrible temper dance, man.
Right? Agreed. Agreed.
So he would be sent away for 6 to 10 years at the state penitentiary in Angola, Louisiana. Again, seems kind of short, but
Yeah. I mean, it was just a stab.
exactly.
The
He
judge
didn't
was like,
kill
well,
him.
at least he didn't shoot him between the eyes, I guess.
It's like, this guy scares me. I'm just gonna give him 6 to 10. Like, get out of here.
And he did write me a sonnet, so
Yeah. This trip to the pen, though, would change his musical career. Well, he would never be wealthy. He would become fairly famous and absolutely an influential blues, folk, and children's musician. Bet you didn't guess that last one.
no, I can't say that I've. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
No. So in 1933, John A. Lomax and his son Alan Lomax would be traveling to prisons under the backing of the Library of Congress as ballad hunters. So Leadbelly was recommended by the warden. Basically, they were traveling and he would spend his free time and on Sunday, quote unquote, Negro work songs. Leadbelly was recommended by the warden as he would spend his free time and Sundays entertaining the guards and the prisoners. The two white men, quote, were deeply moved by Ledbetter's flawless tenor voice, which rang out across the cotton fields like a big sweet toned trumpet.
Wait. Say it again, Sam.
This is from two white men, like I said.
All right.
They were deeply moved by Ledbetter's flawless tenor voice, which rang out across cotton fields like a big sweet toned trumpet.
Phrasing.
Yes. And you'd be worried about these comments about these men, but you actually shouldn't be, truthfully. This was in July 1933, and they would record his music with the mobile recording equipment that they had at the time, but it wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
The next year, the two men would come back again with the Library of Congress, but record him on much better equipment this time.
Wow.
They would also record hundreds of his songs with him this time. Hundreds.
Holy cow.
And it wasn't just all his own. Like, he also sang like the old work songs that he had learned and other people's blues and folk and everything.
Right.
So songs from blues to old work songs, prison songs, folk music, like I said there. Somehow, this man with a terrible temper would once again be released from prison on good behavior on October 1st, 1934, less than 5 of his minimum 6-year sentence. Yes, if you're counting, that was a commuted sentence for a murder and attempted murder for good behavior and being a good musician.
He knows how to work it. He knows who he needs to butter up, and he knows who he can stab.
But it's amazing that a black man in the 1930s was getting breaks like this. This didn't happen.
It doesn't happen now.
It doesn't happen. But I mean, it definitely didn't happen in Texas or Louisiana.
No.
Yeah, his second stint was Louisiana, right? So,
right. Most assuredly not.
Yeah. It was an absolutely more racist time than today. And Jesus, we have all seen how 2023 has been going, and it is no pillar for race relations.
Nope.
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 Out on parole, but deep in the Great Depression, it was hard to get a job that his parole required of him. He would stay with Martha Promise, a woman he knew before going into prison in Shreveport, Louisiana. When he could not find work, he would reach out to John A. Lomax and become his driver and possibly his bodyguard also, it sounds like. There was some talk of that. And I mean, if you want a bodyguard, you may not be able to control him, but he'll protect you.
He sure will.
Here he would start to move further afield. He would end up in Memphis and New York. Lomax would now become Leadbelly's manager. So like I said, you don't have to really worry about this guy. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he has the racism of the day, but not enough to, it's the racism of how he speaks and how he thinks, but he doesn't hate this man. He still wants to work with him.
Yeah.
It's better than most people in that age.
Who have been convicted twice of murder and attempted murdering.
Yeah, like this is not even a not even a good man. Like this guy's scary dude.
Yeah.
He would begin one of his many record contracts during this time, as well as performing extensively in New York. On January 20th, 1935, Leadbelly would marry Martha Promise, and she would head north from Louisiana to be with him. John Lomax and his son would write a book, quote, Negro Folk Songs as Sung by Leadbelly. And while it was not a commercial success, it still happened. They still wrote a book about him.
Yeah.
John A. Lomax would have trouble booking shows for Leadbelly and would decide he could no longer represent him in the mid 1935 or around mid 1935. So he tried. It just wasn't working out. So he had to let him go.
Right.
So there would be lawsuits involved as John would refuse to give him a lump sum of money that he owed because, quote, he would spend it all drinking if I gave him a lump sum. So again, right, that racism comes back.
Of course.
The legal bad would end up siding with Leadbelly, and he would get all the money he was owed. Again, like, how does this guy keep doing this?
I don't know, man.
In February 19th,
look.
Yeah, right. Oh, he did. Yeah, look him up.
Give him the crazy eye.
He was a big dude. In February 1936, Leadbelly would pull up his roots and move to New York full time. He would play 2 shows a day at Harlem's Apollo Theater. Weirdly, Leadbelly was never popular with African American music fans, and he would become friends with Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger, prominent white left-wing folk musicians.
Yep.
Leadbelly was known as a centrist, but he seemed to collect left-wing friends. He would also gain some fame with white music fans. The most of his fame was with white music fans, really.
Sure.
Yes, again, this is in the mid-1930s. This is kind of unheard of. This just didn't happen.
No.
I mean, Elvis Presley got into a ton of shit for hanging out at black-only clubs because he liked the music and the people that frequented them. And that was in the late 1940s, if I remember correctly. So this is in the 30s, decade before. Things would turn for Leadbelly again in May 1939, as he would be convicted of third-degree assault. Alan Lomax, 24, John's son, would end up back in Leadbelly's life now, as he would drop out of grad school to raise money for his defense. So again, like, this family keeps kind of like up and down, right?
Yep.
He would end up with an 8-month sentence in New York. Once out of prison in 1940, he would end up regularly on a radio show with Alan Lomax and Nicholas Ray on CBS called Back Where I Came From.
From prison to here, a story.
Exactly, right. And this show was broadcast nationwide in the US. He would perform extensively as well as record extensively for the next few years. He would end up moving to California for a new record contract. He would end up going back to New York, though, in 1949 and be a regular on a New York radio show. It was called Folk Songs of America. This time, just a New York station, so it didn't, or New York City station, so it didn't go nationwide anymore.
Right.
That same year, he would head out to France for a European tour.
Jesus.
Sadly, he would fall ill before this tour was finished, and as he was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease.
Oh no.
Yeah. He was the first American country blues musician to actually achieve success in Europe, which is bloody amazing.
It is bloody amazing.
Bloody amazing. His last show he ever performed was a tribute show for his former mentor, John A. Lomax, at the University of Texas in Austin. John Lomax had died the year before. Leadbelly would die on December 6, 1949, due to complications of Lou Gehrig's disease.
Jeez.
Leadbelly would die poor, with over 500 songs recorded. Only 6 months after his death, the group The Weavers would cover his song Goodnight Irene, and it would become a million record hit.
I'm guessing they were white dudes.
Yes.
Yep.
He likely would have been very wealthy if he had lived much longer, as his song would be covered extensively in popular music. He would be covered by Ry Cooder, Grateful Dead, Johnny Cash, Gene Autry, the Beach Boys, Billy Childish, who named his son Huddy, Monroe Jerry, Paul King, Michelle Shocked, Tom Waits, British Sea Power, Rod Stewart, Ernest Tubb, Nick Cave, the Bad Seeds, the White Stripes, the Fall, Smog, Raffi, the Los Angeles punk group called
Raffi?
X, and many others. Like, yes.
What? Okay, so it was obviously his child side.
Yeah. One of those many others is Nirvana, who covered Where Did You Sleep Last Night on their Unplugged album. Here's a little clip of Leadbelly's version.
My girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? Come on, tell me, baby. In the pond, where the sun don't ever shine. I was shivering all night too. My girl, where?
So I think a lot of people will recognize that song just by Nirvana, right?
Right. Oh man. Dude, he apparently wrote Skip to My Lou.
Let me get to it.
Oh, oops. Oops. Buried the lead.
If that's not enough, he was mentioned by Pete Seeger, Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, Pearl Jam, Old Crow Medicine Show, The Dead Milkmen, Bubby Morthans, a whole bunch of Stone Temple Pilots. Kurt Cobain of Nirvana would even name Leadbelly's Last Session Volume 1 as one of his top 50 most influential albums of all time. In 1986, he would posthumously be inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame. In 1988, he would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Leadbelly was a man of terrible anger and a beautiful musical soul. This man was a juxtaposition if you ever saw one. So here's the clip of the children's song he helped popularize and even was credited to him for a time, but it actually was not written by him.
Put it in you, skip to Lou, my darling. Hey, hey, skip to Lou, hey, hey, skip to Lou, hey, hey, skip to Lou, my darling. Can't get a blue but J but do, can't get a blue but J but do, can't get a blue but J but do, skip to Lou, my darling. Little red wagon painted in blue, little red wagon painted in blue.
And I couldn't finish this script without just sharing one more song that blew my mind when I found out it was one of his, because this is a very popular song and it's not an original. It sounds very different here, but still.
Sure.
Oh, Black Betty, bam ba lamb. Oh,
What?
Black Betty, bam ba lamb, Black Betty, Black Betty.
What?
Bam ba lamb, Black Betty, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, jump steady, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, jump steady, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, oh, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, oh, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, looky on it, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, looky on it, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, turn around, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, jump down, Black Betty. Bam ba lamb, oh.
So there you go. There's a extremely short history of Leadbelly.
That, like, I like the rock version.
Yeah,
But
I like
that
the rock version way
is just
better.
so stripped down. I love it so much. There is so much soul in there. There's so
And
much like, ugh.
can you believe like that song is from like when did he pass away again here? What did I say? He died in 1949. So that song was written pre 1949. But we all know it from whatever it was, 90s, 2000s. I forget when that song came out.
By Ram Jam. Yeah, Ram Jam. It was released in 1977.
Oh, really? Okay, it's
Mhm.
become more popular more recently.
Yeah.
I think it's been in so many different movies and stuff that it became a big thing. But yeah, I think I blew your mind a little bit there.
Yeah. I mean, the whole time, but really at the end, when connections like that are made, I like them. I like them. It
Yeah.
makes my brain work.
So it's just like this guy that was definitely just a shitty dude, but fuck, was he a good musician?
What's wild? There's like a piece of me that's like so happy that folks went around and recorded him so that we have this.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that like 500 songs were recorded by the Library of Congress,
Well, not
which
all by them.
Oh, okay, okay.
They
Well,
they
a lot was
recorded 100 with him, I think, before he got out of prison. I think it was, but he also had. I only covered a couple. He had like 4 or 5 different record contracts. Jeez. So, yeah,
But he still died penniless.
yep, 100%.
So he did it for the love.
Yep. They didn't get in too much. He might have been spending it all on partying. I don't know. That didn't really come up, but yeah,
1930s parties. I can't imagine how much fun those were.
Oh, there was probably still a lot of booze. If you're going to a
Oh.
blues club in the 30s, I'm sure it was fun.
I'm sure. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Especially
Checks out.
Especially a black blues club, not a shitty white club at that time.
Ain't got no rhythm.
People can dance, they can party, or they can stand there and look really awkward and play a banjo.
Stop dancing at this concert.
Yes, exactly.
Ugh.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning into this episode of Brew Crime. You can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group, Brew Crime the Group. If you'd like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrime now. The money goes towards upgrading equipment and making the show that much better. You get 1 bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes. To shout out to our Patreon supporters, True Crime Nana, Three Biz and Podcasts, and the faves of our lives. Bye.
Bye. Whoa, Black Betty around the lamb.
Oh, Black Betty. Stop recording. All cases in Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.